All right, Nick. We're live. I don't know where you're lined up at right now, but I am currently 1-2.
I'm 1-2 also. Let's ride.
Just
Let's
fouled it
do
off.
it.
Jonathan India. I feel like I'm a little probably behind you, but yeah. Good for Kevin Newman. Still don't think a lot of the decisions that were made today were very good, but I'm glad that they can prove me wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, I just needed to put the ball in play.
Nope.
Couldn't do it.
That...
Yeah. People, Sir Boy's been all over me about my Kevin Newman situation today. I mean, look. Just because you got an 80% on the pop quiz doesn't mean you actually know all the stuff.
All right, Tyler, have a moment. Pick him up.
Man, he needs a moment.
Super chat. Trace loves Newman. Oh, man, we are off to a great start. That's fantastic.
Appreciate that, AJ's 94 Bronco.
Oh.
Come on, Stevenson. Like, he does not look like he's got a clue right now. Like, we just need to put the ball in play, man.
Wow. Not great. Wow, what was that swing? Whew. Well, if there's anyone you want up, it's Lord Henry. Pick him up. Pick him up, Henry. He's had the team on his back all week. I don't even know who this pitcher is. Never even heard of this guy.
He's not very good.
Can't imagine. Well, they bring in Alexis.
Yeah, I think you have to bring in Alexis, man. Give yourself at least try to give yourself a chance. The only argument I would make for not bringing in Alexis right here is that you don't have the Manfred man at second base. And I think bringing in Alexis in that situation is probably a better situation because you have a more of an opportunity to strike guys out. So
Well, that and you're also Jace Peterson, Kevin Smith, Ruiz due up. You know, you get through that, then you're going to be looking at Rooker, Aguilar, who have obviously looked really good today. And then Noda was also pinch hit. He's there. So, yeah, you would think it would make more sense for the 10th because you're going to have to get through both innings if you're going to have any chance of winning this.
we'll get into the replay. That's for damn sure. In fact, did I get that, Nick? I got to find that.
I emailed it to you. You should be able to just download that video or play it directly from there.
I'll pull it up.
How about Derek Law? He was pumping in some gas.
Yeah.
How about that?
He looked good.
This is the part of the show where we remind you to like the stream.
That's right. I'm gonna try.
Don't let us get out-Thommed.
I'm so. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know where to go right now. My brain's in a pretzel.
This has been a wild ball game.
No, they're just going to bring Law out. Why not?
Just let Law ride.
Let him eat.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense because you have to get to the 10th.
I don't hate it.
You have to get to the...
That's an out. Got to be an out, right?
Nope. Cheap hit. Sheesh.
The A's are like they're so good at that. All series long, it seems like that's the way they get most of their hits. Maybe that's just because they're bad hitters, but that's so bad. To be fair, it looked like it looked. I mean, he got a good break on it. There's nothing you can do. I'm preparing myself for this.
Small ball. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Matty. Oh, they're giving you an out. Giving you an out. 1, 2. Yeah, now they're gonna have to face Rooker unless they get double play. Or lose. Whew. Here come Diaz. Oh, that's tough. That's tough for Derek Law, man. He pitched a great 8th inning, gives up a cheap hit, a bunt that should have been an out. Man, that's tough.
I'm still keeping Derek Law in there. What has he done to deserve the right to come out?
Yeah.
So you're gonna bring Diaz in a situation like this where there's a damn good chance that they're gonna give up a run, and then all of a sudden now he's thrown 3 days in a row. Is he not allowed to throw tomorrow now?
If he's already warming up, I mean, I don't know. I see both sides here.
That's fine. I mean, that's all. I'm cool with it as long as tomorrow, if we come into a save situation, he's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Weaver's on the mound tomorrow against the Padres, so I
So
mean,
you're saying. I mean, we should probably wait for this to get in the podcast.
No, I'm saying I don't hate. You know, you got a guy. You got you got a bad hitter. The A's for some reason have. But both teams have terrible hitters hitting leadoff today. I mean, this is a guy that actually got his first walk of the season today. So congrats to Mr. Ruiz on that. But he's a guy who could strike out here, and I mean, Alexis Diaz gives you a better chance of getting a strikeout and giving yourself a chance to get out of this.
I see the chat. I mean, I'm with you, Parker. It's just gross. This game's disgusting. I'm gonna save my energy and my true beliefs for when it matters the most, which is probably in 10 minutes.
See if Diaz can get out of this.
I cannot believe that this happened today. I know one thing. If I was a team that was playing against the Reds, I'd be calling my local plumbers and seeing if any of them threw left-handed in high school, if I didn't have a left-hander ready to go. You just throw lefty, and you got a pretty good chance to win against the Reds.
Yeah.
You're not buying that.
Diaz is also tougher to butt against.
I'm not saying Diaz isn't the best option here. He is. Who's going to pitch the next inning? Jabot?
Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
he's in a tough spot.
He might be able to save some pitches, though.
He's in a tough spot, man. You either use him or you don't. That's how I feel about it. You use him or you don't. You don't bring the guy in the middle of the inning, period, bar none. If you think it's important to stop him now, then leave him in. Then bring him in from the start. Derek Law didn't do a damn thing wrong. He got a little flare to left field. He got a guy to bunt directly to Matt Reynolds, who can't obviously make the play, and that's fair. physical mistake. And here we go. Yeah, hit by pitch. It's almost like he's doesn't have his control. He's not. He's a little out of sorts right now. We did win the series. I get it. But I'll get into why this game matters a lot in a minute. At least I think it matters a lot. And I also am still well aware this team's supposed to win 66 games. So I'm trying to keep that. That's the only reason I'm not ready to just absolutely flip over my entire table right now. That ball hit the bat. There's no point in trying to do a replay because those don't work. Let's not forget we had first and third, nobody out, didn't score.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
We had another situation. We had, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we had another situation where we had a leadoff double, nobody out, didn't score.
We had second and third in the ninth with no one out.
Yeah, I just forgot about that one because it's so recent. And then we had second and third, nobody out, can't score.
Yeah. Left runners on base in the third, fourth, fifth, ninth. I don't know if there was another one.
We're going to review this, so I'm glad to see that we're reviewing it. The ball hit the bat. They're going to call it as the play stands because, why not? Just plead the fifth up there in New York. No reason to rock the boat. What's the point of even having a job if you're in New York? Ball hits the bat. It hits the bat literally right in the knob. I've been saying something for a long time about replay, and I need to start writing all these notes down so I don't forget stuff when I get all fired up later. But yeah, Who's Your Daddy? 24 left on base is good. That's a sign of a good hitting team. Yeah, this isn't about the bullpen. David, I don't think you'll see anybody in this chat, or not this chat, but maybe between me and Nick, we know that this game isn't on the bullpen. Look, our offense has 4 runs against the Oakland A's. Go look at the Oakland A's schedule. Go look at who the Oakland A's have played and look at their scores. Okay? Like, it'd be the people that come out of the chat and be like, well, it's one of 162. No, it's not. You're playing a team that's won 3 games all year long. We don't have many of these games where we're unquestionably the best team on the field. So, in my opinion, when you get those spots, you go and try to win. Like all in, all hands on deck. You want to rest? You'll get a rest against the Dodgers. You want to rest? The next time we play the Pirates, which we won't, you'll get the rest with against them. Which the Pirates I'm not scared of, by the way, just to be clear. What's this going to
Hey, there we go. There we go. There we go. All right, that's a strike. That's a strike.
I don't be pessimistic. Appreciate they got that one right. Well, what is there to argue if you're a manager?
You're not supposed to be able to argue. Throw them out of the game. You can't argue challenges. Yeah, get out of here.
What is there to argue?
Oh, it's still second and third, though.
Yeah, it's not a good spot. We need a strikeout, and then we need to walk, and then we need to intentionally walk. Well, that's not true because Rooker's going to be.
Yeah.
I honestly still think that's. I know that sounds dumb, but I still think that's maybe the best chance you guys get lucky and the guy hits a sharp ground ball, you get out of it in double play. The idea of getting a pop-up or 2 guys a strikeout like we've done all game, I don't know. Might not matter. We'll find out.
Well, Rooker strikes out a lot,
closer. Too. Throw it a little bit closer. Can't be a foot outside.
Yep.
That's it. All right. Let's get into it.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the world, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Reds win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first run ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream to get into the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, welcome to Chatterbox Reds. The Oakland A's walk it off against the Cincinnati Redlegs, who were on a 5-game winning streak. And Nick, I don't know where we go to here or where we start. Obviously, we always do the box score recap. I'll give you a second to collect your thoughts on how you want to deliver the message in regards to that. On the rundown, we have the question mark at the beginning, which was, do we have another comeback in us? The answer to that is no. Nick Lodolo, what did he look like? And then Nick Senzel's continued his hot streak of late. And then some Reds MILB. There's many of topics that aren't on this, obviously, rundown that we'll probably get into a little bit. I am going to try my best to be as brief and as concise as I possibly can. Usually when I get upset, I get frustrated. I try to tell myself to give myself a little bit of time to think through all the things that you're currently thinking. And is that rational? Is it smart to think this way? Unfortunately, with this show and the way that it goes down, I don't think I get that opportunity. So we'll see where it goes and where I go off the rails, I'm sure, at times. And I'm just going to assume and hope that you're going to ring me back in, Nick. That's my goal for you today.
Well, I've got a lengthy box score recap here to let you collect yourself, and then we'll be firing on all cylinders here. All right, so let's get through it. A lot happened in this game. Let's make sure everyone, if you didn't miss part of the game, you at least know what happened here. All right, bottom of the first, Nick Lodolo threw a changeup right down the pipe to Jesus Aguilar. He hit it 428 feet. It was 2-0 Oakland. Top second, Nick Senzel keeps on rolling, hit his second home run of the season, second of the week, 2-1 A's. Bottom four, Lodolo had looked like he was figuring out, but then he left a sinker up. Brett Rooker, who has been just absolutely on fire to start the season for the Oakland A's, hit a ball 411 feet, 112 miles an hour off the bat. It was 3-1 Oakland. Reds left runners on base in the third, fourth, and the fifth, but then in the top of the sixth, Reds trailing 3-1. Henry Ramos started another rally. He singled, followed by another Nick Senzel single. Then TJ Friedl came in. He pinch hit for Jose Barrero with 2 outs. Friedl hit the ball back off of the A's relief pitcher Acevedo. He threw it away, and the Reds cut it to 3-2. They had the bases loaded, 2 outs for Kevin Newman. And Kevin Newman hit a 2 RBI single, 4-3. Reds take the lead. Bottom of the sixth, Lucas Sims came in to relieve Lodolo after he allowed a leadoff single. Lucas Sims got out of that jam. Sims had walked a guy, hit a pitch, but then he got a strikeout, and Matt Reynolds made a nice play to get out of the inning, although didn't make a nice play later. Lodolo's final line on the day, 5 innings pitched, 3 runs, no walks. That was, I guess, the brightest spot of the day, and 7 strikeouts. Top 7, controversial decision by some for Jonathan India to steal third base with first and second, 1 out, but an even more controversial out call that replay determined stood. We'll certainly get into that. Bottom 7, Buck Farmer gave up a couple weaker hit singles and a walk. A's tied the game at 4. Top 9, Reds had a golden chance. They had runners on second and third with no one out, but India and Stevenson struck out, and then Ramos flew out to end the inning. And then in the bottom of the 9th, Derek Law came out for second inning of work. A very weak hit single off the end of the bat by Jace Peterson. Then a sack bunt that was misplayed by Matt Reynolds. Alexis Diaz came in, wild pitch. Esther Ruiz singled to walk it off for the A's. Final 5-4 in Oakland. Reds take 2 of 3. 5-game win streak is over.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of ways that I want to go into this, but I do want to start off by showing the replay for those that missed it. I don't think it was a controversial decision at all. I know on the broadcast they made it seem to be like that would be a questionable decision. This team's aggressive. I think that you give them the green light if they think that they can take third base, then that's a big spot. The chances of scoring with one out with a guy on third base obviously goes dramatically up instead of assuming that you're going to get a base hit with 1 out or 2 outs. So I don't think it was a controversial decision to try to take the bag. I do think it was absolutely ridiculous that replay in New York didn't overturn this call. I'm sure the copyrights are going to knock down our monetary. They're going to take away the money. I don't give a damn. I mean, it was so bad that they can take all the money from us from this video. I could care less. All right, so I am going to show you what this looks like now. So I'm going to let this run again, and I'm going to talk through it a couple times because here's my main problem. First of all, as a replay system, and I'm going to come back into focus here for half a second. In a replay system, the goal obviously is to get it right. That's the main goal when you implement a replay system, is just that when the call is made on the field, it is what it is. Why in the world do sports keep, and I say sports, I should say leagues, why do leagues keep on hiding behind this quote-unquote the call on the field? The call on the field is being made by a human in real speed, doesn't have multiple angles. They have the only angle. So at the end of the day, if you said your life's dependent upon it, absolutely, if you get this right or wrong, and God knows if he was safe or out, are you going to say he's safe or are you going to say he's out? 100 out of 100 people that know something about baseball, if their life depended on it, we're going to say that he was safe, Nick. 100 out of 100, if their life depended on it, would call him safe. But instead, I want you to watch the umpire here. All right, I'm going to fade this back in. I want you to see where the umpire's at and his feet moving across the ground, and you tell me if you think that's what we should be hanging our hat on at the end of the day. We're going to hang our hat on that guy's call over the replay we have right in front of us. Look at this guy. He's moving. He's literally trying to get in position. He's moving, Nick. His eyes are bouncing all over the place. He's behind the bag. And that's the call that we're going to stick with. And I'm going to run this one more time and show you he's about as safe as one can get. So, ball's in hand, right? That's great. Well, you got to tag him. That's part of the rules, Nick. I don't know if you know, but if it's not a force out, you have to tag the runner that's running to the next base. So then, it's clear as day, India's foot's on the bag, right? His glove doesn't move until right here. It gets hit by his shin, and by that point, he's already on the bag. In fact, they had a whole nother angle. They had a whole nother angle that showed this on the backside, and the question is whether or not he even had the ball in time. And so it was a horrible call. Horrible. If you're in New York and that's your only job, and I don't care if whether or not they make $100,000 or $10 an hour, they should lose their job. Say whatever you want. They should lose their job. And the only argument I would make to that, Nick, is his foot wasn't on the bag in that image, so one person's going to say, well, was he going to tag him in time? It's beside the point. It was absolutely horrible. That's not the reason the Reds lost today. We can get into that. But if we're not going to get replay right in New York, then I would just argue, fire the people that exist, get new people in. And stop hanging your hat on whatever the call on the field is, because that's the scapegoat thing to do. That's the scapegoat thing to do, Nick. I don't know why we continue to do that in sports. Well, yeah, he probably was safe, but, it's so close, you can't really 100% tell without reasonable doubt. Yeah, without reasonable doubt. Like I said before, 100 out of 100. I'm not even going to make it 99. 100 out of 100 people say he's safe. He was safe. That was going to be a big inning, second and third. Although, to be fair, to that point, Nick, we did have our chances with second and third, nobody out again, and we didn't get a guy in. So, it's here nor there.
And a lot of other chances earlier in the game as well against Woldachuk, guy that struggled all year. He's a guy that has upside, so I don't know, on that play, what I would add to it, I agree with pretty much most of what you said. He clearly didn't have a good angle on it, so why does what his call was on the field even matter? What I would also say, though, is why do we have to sit and wait 3 minutes for a call to stand? If we're going to do replay and you're going to, wait around 3 or 4 minutes, look at it for 30 seconds, you should be able to determine, well, we're not going to be able to say that's inclusive. Boom, you move on. At least don't make us sit and wait around for something like that. I think that's what makes it more irritating to a lot of people watching at home, is that, I just waited 3.5 minutes. He sure looks safe to me. And then what's the point of what we're doing?
Yeah, well, I think the longer you take, it draws the idea of if the longer it takes, then obviously the more inconclusive it is, which stands the point of, well, did you hear what they said on the field? They said it stands, which means that they couldn't quite guarantee that it was a safe route. But that's beside the point. I don't know where else you want to go from here, Nick. I know David Bell causes a lot of heartburn for many, and he gets criticized a lot. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not. I'm not even getting into the point of whether or not some of the moves he made today were relatively good or bad. I think that's getting into the weeds a little too much sometimes. I think that, his whole decision of whether or not you were going to pinch hit for Kevin Newman in that spot or whether you keep India in. Listen, I guess he made the right decision based off the fact that obviously Newman not only got 1 hit, but he got 2 hits after that. So you could give him his flowers. My whole main point to this thing is I go back to this, and you're probably somebody that could probably try to bring me down to earth a little bit here on this. Is like, there's only so many games that this team is supposed to win, Nick. There's only so many. It's not like this team is in a situation too where they're not playing good baseball, and it's whatever. Maybe we'll shuffle the lineup up a little bit, and maybe these guys that probably aren't as good of players, maybe they'll get us back on the right track. No, we've won 5 in a row. Arguably should have 6. You got Lodolo going out there on the mound. You have the A's going out there throwing a guy that obviously hasn't had a good start to the year. They're the A's at the end of the day. If you watch them play any baseball this weekend, they're clearly the worst team in Major League Baseball, and it's not even close. And if you need proof of that, go look at the run differential. This team's terrible. They're horrible. And I get they're not going to lose 162 games. They're going to have to beat somebody, Nick. But I would like them to beat us with our best guys. That's all. Jonathan India, yeah, maybe he hasn't had a day off in so many days. Well, they just took the road trip out there. They just had a day off flying out there. I know that's not technically a quote-unquote day off, Nick, but we're putting our best lineup out there until we lose. At least until we lose. And you know what? I would argue, let's wait until we got, no offense to Sessa, but wait until we got one of our 4th or 5th starters going, Nick, and just kind of throw. You can't automatically say to the public that you're just kind of folding. But if you want to give some guys a day off, give them a day off when we're probably not going to win. That's all. But instead, we go out and we score 4 runs tonight. Or today, whatever you want to call it. And you could sit here and say, well, 4 runs should win you most of the games. No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't. 4 runs is like the Mendoza line. And I would argue against the A's, it should be probably 5.5, 6 runs, to be fair.
Yeah, just one of those days. Lodolo was not sharp. The game was lost in the top of the 9th. That's when you had the 2 guys up you wanted, India and Stevenson. They just couldn't come through today. India's been playing well. Stevenson not well, he actually had a pretty solid week, but overall throughout the course of the season, hasn't been, hitting up to his standard. And it just, that was where the game was lost, and that allowed the crap luck in the bottom of the ninth to happen because they just weren't able to come through. Should have been able to get 2 runs in that spot and have a 6, 4 lead.
Yeah, and let's get through something really quickly here. I know that the chat's popping off a little bit in regards to the decision of whether or not they should have brought in Diaz or kept Derek Law in there. We talked about it before the inning started. I think the right decision was to run someone out there that was not Diaz. And the reason that I felt that way was because I thought Diaz had a better chance of getting out of the 10th inning, if we got to the 10th inning, obviously, and being able to get out of that inning without giving up a run. And on top of that, I don't want to throw Diaz if it's a guaranteed situation where he's not going to throw more than 3 days in a row. So if we have a safe situation tomorrow, he's not available, I'm not bringing him in this game. I know you said, well, if he's warming up, then maybe that changes things. Okay, well, if he's going to throw, then I guess I would throw him in the 9th. If you're going to throw him, then I'll throw him in the 9th. Derek Law, put it this way, did not do anything in that inning, in my opinion, to get taken out of the game. Did nothing. So,
and
go ahead.
I think we've also seen, Diaz is to your point, I think he definitely isn't as sharp in these situations that are outside of the norm. And maybe there's an argument to be made that he should be tried in more situations like this. But they saw the situation in Philly, and then this situation. Outside of that, when it's been a normal situation this came in, he's been absolutely dominant. No one can touch him, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, that inning, you had a guy with a 600 OPS, a 521 OPS, and a 638 OPS coming up. I mean, that's a great situation for Derek Law, and Derek Law didn't do anything wrong. And you had to get through 2 innings anyways. So, but in defense to whoever, when you give up a leadoff single and then there's an error and you have first and second, I mean, your chances of winning the game when you have to get 6 outs still at that point is almost toast. So maybe you shouldn't have brought in Diaz at all. Maybe you should just say, even though we warmed up, just say, hey, you know what? This isn't going to probably be our night. We'll ride with Derek Law, or we'll bring in Casey Legumina or whoever else, we have that we could bring in if Law can't get out. But I don't think Law really thrown all that many pitches. So,
well, this is the part of the show where I got to figure out what angle I want to take. Is it the angle that is, we're not very good, and at the end of this year we're probably not going to be playing for meaningful baseball, or do you take the mindset, which is, in my opinion, a little bit more of a winning mindset? It's a championship mindset, which is you compete. And you try, you know what? You probably don't have the best roster, but the goal is to win. I mean, you're a professional franchise. So maybe until you're 100% guaranteed out of the race, per se, that you start to use the excuse that, well, okay, we're only supposed to win 60-something games. This team was starting to play well. They were starting to play well. And there was some mojo back in this team. I just, for the life of me, will never understand why you legitimately, when you already have a hamstrung lineup as is, when a left-handed throws against the Reds, it takes away 2 of our better bats. In what world is it okay then to sit one of your better bats as a right-handed hitter because he needs a day off? That makes no sense to me.
It only would have made sense if he was nursing something, but then he came in and got 2 at-bats. So, yeah,
he didn't just come in. He didn't just come in. He came in directly after the at-bat of Kevin Newman, who, by the way, probably looked absolutely atrocious the 3 at-bats or 2 or 3 at-bats before that. So, and I get it. You know what this reminds me of? David Bell tonight, and I get some people on Twitter, they were all over me, and it is what it is. David Bell today reminded me of the kid that gets a 50-50 question test. It's like 25 questions long. He fills it out in 2 minutes because he didn't study it all. He could care less. Fills it out, and he gets an 80%. He takes it home to his parents, and his parents are like, damn, we're really proud of you, son. But underneath the surface of all that, it was horrible. So, yeah, I get it. Kevin Newman got 2 hits. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I just don't get it. He came in the game as a defensive replacement almost, it felt like. Now, I know he led off the inning the very next inning, and that's why they did it. But Nick, I told myself I was not going to get myself wrapped up into these games to where it felt like we should judge these based off wins and losses. And you sweep the Rangers, you take 2 from the A's. The A's look like they probably, in all honesty, would finish halfway down the junior college leagues out there in California. And it felt like we should sweep this team. And then you go into the Padres series and you're probably going to lose a couple. But now I'm a little concerned with the fact that, you don't take advantage of an opportunity to play a team that's won 3 or 4 games all year, and you go and people can say the Padres aren't very good all you want. Well, no one's worse than the A's. So,
all right, I'm gonna help you out here because I've been
do.
racking my brain because I was like, well, you couldn't take Kevin Newman out of the game because you didn't have a shortstop,
right?
And,
but we don't have a shortstop anyways. We don't have a shortstop anyways.
All right, but that was why. All right, and Spencer Steer can play shortstop, but he was DHing today, right. So that did it. But there was an alternative, Trace. Matt Reynolds was in this game. He's played shortstop. He played shortstop last year for the big league club. They could have moved him over to shortstop, and Luke Malley can play first base, or Tyler Stevens can play first base, and he goes in and catches. So you did have an option, and you didn't take it. But I guess it didn't matter. Newman did get the hit, but I don't judge it on the results. I think I think you're right on that. If you're gonna pinch hit TJ Friedel for Barrero, if you're gonna pitch hit Jake Fraley for Casale, then why not ride it out and pinch hit India for Newman, and juggle it around. I don't necessarily worry as much about what my defense looks like late in the game if I'm trailing. Because you're
right.
going to lose either way, right?
Yeah. Right.
Defense is very important, but at some point it becomes, let's go for broke. And hey, if we have a bad defense out, we're going to lose anyway. So what does it matter? Matt Reynolds could have played shortstop. I was racking my brain thinking how this could have worked, and there was a way. David just must not have gone down the 7th string depth chart of his shortstop tonight. Hopefully we can relay the message.
Yeah. All right, Nick Lodolo. I don't know if we should be concerned. I still don't think we should be concerned. But it'd be nice to see him have one of those outings again relatively soon. That makes you think that he's probably one of the best pitchers in the league. He's got off to a good start. Your overall thoughts on Lodolo? Not that he had a bad outing. I don't think that's the case, but your overall thoughts on Nick?
Yeah, I mean, he's already allowed 8 home runs this year. He only allowed 13 last year. So it kind of feels like he's going through that same stretch that Hunter Green went through last year, where it just kept making mistakes, got him hammered. I think I would be more concerned if his control was kind of all over the place. He didn't walk anyone tonight. I think his walks per 9 still like in the low 2s. So he's being aggressive. I don't know if maybe that was more of an emphasis, because last year it felt like at times when he did struggles because he was nibbling too much and not trusting his stuff. So maybe he needs to find that better middle ground between the two of not nibbling too much, while also not throwing pitches right down the heart of the plate and getting him hit 428 feet. But yeah, I mean, I think he's just going through it right now. I think Cowboy was all over it about the fact that he gutted through this, didn't let the home runs that he allowed really get him off track like he did against the Rangers. When he allowed those home runs, it snowballed. But at least today, and it's against a much more favorable lineup, he was able to at least manage around it and keep the Reds in this game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I also say, like, the Rooker home run was one thing, but I would even say the first inning he gave up that little check swing base hit and then led obviously to a bad pitch that gave up a 2-run home run. So I'm fine with Nick. It is what it is. Lodolo will be fine. Move on. You have Senzel and Ramos on here, rightfully so. Those guys continue to play well. They're a spark. They've been a spark. They should probably stay in there. My best guess is they probably won't. Senzel's probably going to get a day off tomorrow. Ramos probably get a day off here soon, maybe tomorrow. I know I see you smiling, but it's true. I just, that's the way that I guess I am like completely pessimistic today, but it's just like, that's the way that this goes. I mean, guys play well and get hot. You think you got something going, and then let's just shuffle it all up. So tomorrow, I guess my point is, Nick, I will probably won't even be on the show if Nick Senzel's sitting. I'll be going to San Diego. Take care of matters.
Oh boy. Yeah, but no, let's talk about a really good week from Nick Senzel and
Great
Henry
Nick.
Ramos. Every single game, they had competitive at bats throughout. I feel like Nick Senzel specifically is just playing with. It's so cliche to say, but I'll say it. I think he's playing with a fire that I haven't really seen him play with since he's came up. You know, maybe when he came up, when he started, you really kind of felt, and I'm sure a lot of that has just been how difficult it's been every time he feels like he's clicking, he gets hurt. But I don't know. I feel like he's playing, letting it all hang out. I got nothing to lose right now, and that's been really refreshing to see. I can't say enough about him. He looked completely dead in the water, and maybe he still is. This was 1 week. I don't want to say, hey, he's back, we got a superstar here, but he had a hell of a week. So cheers to Nick Senzel today.
Well, I think to be fair to the crowd that thinks that Nick might be back, this is the first time I would say that he doesn't have any really true pressure on him to succeed or perform. He's not the guy that was supposed to be the big-time center fielder. He's not the guy that was supposed to be the hot prospect anymore. He's also got a little bit of a wind underneath his sails. He's a little more confident, obviously, rightfully so. He's had some good things happen to him, and now we'll see how long he can ride this wave. I think the true real test with Nick to see if he's quote-unquote back or not is when he obviously isn't hitting 480 or whatever it was been the last week. What happens when he has 2 or 3 games where he's struggling a little bit? Can he bounce back? Or is it just, as you said, a hot streak? So be interesting to see. Ramos is just kind of right now a spark plug, and he feels like that hot shooter that traditionally isn't this hot in a game, and you just keep on riding him. You just let him keep shooting, and then when he cools off, maybe during one of the timeouts, you let him know, like, hey, we're going to slow down on the shooting thing, all right? You good with that? And but until then, you just let him know and tell him how great of a shooter he is. That's what you do. So Henry Ramos, you keep doing your thing. Hopefully the rest of the team could figure it out. Are you concerned about Tyler Stevenson yet, or are we in a situation where we want to keep giving him some time?
Well, I saw that a lot in the chat, and Tyler Stevenson did have 7 hits over the last 4 games. So, yeah, today he was really bad, but he did have a good week. I'd like to see more power out of Tyler Stevenson. I'd like to see Nick Senzel power out of Tyler Stevenson. But where's this power from Nick Senzel? Nick Senzel, 2 home runs this week. My guy had 5 in 373 at-bats last year, 1 in 111 in 2021. So the fact that he hit 2 home runs this week, that is a really awesome sign. I hope that he's that's something that he's kind of tweaked his swing and able to launch the ball a little bit more, and maybe we'll see a little bit more of that. Because even when Nick Senzel, like last year, he had some stretches where he got hot, but I mean, he was hot, but his OPS was like 750, over like a 3-week stretch, because they were all just singles, so he's actually hitting the ball with some authority, which is a much different thing than we've really seen from him at all over the last couple of years.
I wanted to bring up a question that Brian had in the chat earlier, and I see some more questions. We'll go through those as we progress through the show. It says, why do most Reds relievers feel like they struggle when they're pitching their second inning? Law obviously wasn't really his fault today, but he's just talking overall. I think that's, in my opinion, that's just kind of relievers in general. I think the more you ask those relievers to throw extended innings, and their mind, it's a mindset thing, in my opinion. I think there's probably some relievers that have a mindset that's a little bit different, that they think that they can throw multiple innings and they're comfortable with doing it. But I think you go back to the mindset between most relievers, and their thing is that when they come in, their job is to get the outs that they come in within the specific inning that they're coming in to do. And then after that, and they go and they sit in the dugout, whatever that is, it almost is like a relaxation to where they're like, okay, I did my job. And then maybe there's times where that gets to people. I think Diaz is a good example of this. I think Diaz is in a spot where, and it almost feels weird because I think a lot of closers are like this. And I don't think they're always like this. I just think that when you get shoved in that closer role, for some reason, this must have a mental effect on people. If he's not in a traditional save situation, and or if he comes into the middle of an inning with a mess, he's not done as well. And maybe it's coincidental, but I'm starting to think that it's not. And so I don't think it's just the Reds. I bet if you went across all of Major League Baseball, it probably would be relatively the same.
I hate the closers rule so much. I wish they could just get rid of it. I've loosened my thinking on that a lot because every person that I've ever, heard, in interviews and podcasts that did relieve says how much it matters. And so look, I'll give it to them, but I wish they would get rid of it completely. And you never had guys that are set closers and you didn't have that mindset. One other quick point on, the 2 innings. I mean, like, these guys are giving it all they have. Like, Derek Law hit 98.9 on the gun. These relievers are throwing harder than they've ever thrown before. If Derek Law was coming out as a starter, he wouldn't be throwing 98.9. So I think that also probably has something to do with it. You're coming in hot. You're throwing, as hard as you can, and then you have to sit down and cool off and come back out. I think that probably also factors into a lot. And Derek Law also hasn't really gone more than 1 inning very often. I don't remember him going more than 1 inning a whole lot.
Charles is in here asking why Senzel is squaring a bunt. I don't know, Charles. I think that if you get into every nuance of the game, it becomes too toxic.
Trying to shift the defense or something. I don't know. Maybe just keep the defense honest.
Yeah. Looking through the chat.
I don't really know about
Go ahead.
Joey Votto. I haven't. I think he's just still working on his swing. I haven't heard anything about any rehab assignment or anything like that. I got to be honest. I mean, like, yeah, whenever he goes, great. I'll be excited. I'll watch him. But like, I don't. Well, I don't know at this point. Like, we're rolling with what we got. And I don't know.
What are we talking about? I mean, Joey Votto, all-time career. But, I mean, if we're talking about this year, I'm just hopeful that guy can come out and play a month or so relatively well. And when he gets his swan song.
I mean, look, I see the chat. We want Votto. I want Votto too, but there's also part of me that
they're not being serious. They're not being serious. Are they?
I'm also like, be careful what we wish for here. I'm nervous that Joey Votto is going to come out and it's going to be the father time thing, and it's going to be ugly and painful to watch. So
yeah, no, this is Mike. Listen. We're at the Washington Wizards stage in Michael Jordan's career right now. Like, okay, let's not think we're getting 96 Bulls. We're not. Call me. I guess, like, that's the thing that stinks about this whole situation is, like, I love Joey Votto. I've defended Joey Votto and again, this is no offense taken, but, like, you'll get my point. I've defended Joey Votto against boomers for the last 15 years going, okay? I've tried to tell him how great he was, how big of an impact he makes, how he's been paid fairly. We're not getting into that again. Joey Votto's been paid fairly. We're not going to argue over whether or not he's done his worth. He's done everything that we've ever asked him to do in this city. He's been a model citizen. He's worked hard. He's been a team player. He's said all the right things most times. You could say he's relatively quote-unquote weird from time to time, maybe in the middle to the beginning of his career in regards to his personality, but who cares about all that? He kind of came out of his shell here towards the end, and that was kind of nice to see. But as far as a player, He's been great, but it's over. Like, it just is. I'm not going to sit here and have a microphone in front of my face and not tell you my opinions. He has no bearing on whether or not this team's going to have major success or not coming back. So we're not going to get into that subject. There is some Reds MILB, obviously, that you can get into in a minute. One last thing that I would like to say is that we'll get into it when you do Reds MILB, because I'm starting to get a little concerned about what the hell's going on in Louisville, and I'm wondering what the plan is. I'm sure you'll figure that out as you probably sit here and get ready to go through Reds MILB.
Figure it out. I got to figure it out. Now you're putting pressure on me. All right, let's just run through it. If you want to stop and talk about anyone, just, I don't know.
Oh, I'll do
Tell me
it.
to
Yeah,
shut
sure.
up.
Go ahead.
All right, so AAA, ugly week for the Louisville Bats. They lost 13-0 to Iowa. The Bats were outscored 31-2 over the last two games. This game was wild. There was like 40-mile-an-hour wind or something like that. I didn't get to watch a lot of it, but you could, like, the camera was like shaking the whole time. Levi Stout walked 6 batters today. He was awful. Ellie De La Cruz, he did get a hit. Matt McClain over 3 with a walk. Ellie was playing third base again. McClain at shortstop. That's the third straight day of that. Christian Encarnacion Strand was pulled in this game after being hit by a pitch. I haven't seen anything else on that. The Bats were down 13-0. Like I said, it was really nasty conditions. So I don't know if there's anything more to that. I guess we'll have to see on that. You want to stop and talk about any of those guys at Louisville before we move on to the other teams in action?
I want to talk about the guys in Louisville at the very end of the show, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
So fly through it. Go for it, man.
Sorry. All right, AA Chattanooga, they lost 6-1 to Rocket City. Lyon Richardson, he's on a strict pitch count, 2 innings pitched, 1 run. Noelvi Marte was over 3 with a walk. Dayton, they got a win, 8-1. This game was shortened 8 innings because of rain, but good day for Dayton. Blake Dunn keeps on keeping on. He hit his 5th home run of the season. He's been a lot of fun to watch. Edwin Arroyo got a double in this game. Austin Hendricks got on base 3 times. And then Jose Acuna was the starting pitcher, 4 innings pitched, 1 run, 4 strikeouts. The Daytona Tortugas, they played 2 games. In game 1, they lost 10-5. Cam Collier hit his first home run, so that was exciting to see. Well, you kind of saw it. They're on TV, but they did get a cell phone video. So thank you for that, Tortugas. Carlos Jorge, he had a big day. He was 2 for 3 in this one. And then the second game, Trace, Daytona came back and won. They won 7-6. They scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 7th, which is the last inning in a minor league doubleheader. And then Carlos Jorge, 2 for 3 in game 1, hit a home run in game 2. So good for the Tortugas. They're now 8-13 after that 5-0 start. Much needed win for the Tortugas today. And that is your Reds minor league update presented by our friends at Betfred Sportsbook. And hey, Trace, I have a Betfred potential play, some betting information that I do want to get to when we talk about the next game real quick.
Okay.
So go ahead.
I like that. Someone brought it up in the chat as well, and I'm gonna go back through and shout out their name once I figure it out. But I do have a little bit of a concern as to what's going on down in Louisville with positions. So who's the shortstop? Do we know? Do we care? At what point, Nick, do we just make a line in the sand and say, okay, this is what you're playing, and let's move on? I guess that's my main question. When is that fair to ask? It's
a little weird that Ellie played third base 3 games in a row, because they did do that swapping back and forth, but it normally wasn't 3 games in a row. I don't know. Maybe they're saying, all right, you're going to play 3 days in a row at third base, and we're not going game after game. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. I don't have an issue with them keeping these guys flexible. That doesn't bother me in the least bit. I don't think it's going to mess up good players.
I'm listening.
I don't think it messes them up. I mean, so what are we talking about? What's the plan here with the big leagues? I mean, I think it's just, we're going to call these guys up when we think they're ready. I think that they want to see a little bit more from Matt McLain. I know everyone wants him right now. I'm not going to keep rehashing that. I think I made the case of why I think a couple more weeks makes sense for him. I'd be curious to know if anyone outside of the Reds, anyone that doesn't have any emotional investment in the Reds, if they looked at Matt McLain and what he's doing, what would they think about where the Reds are with him? I don't think other people would be like, oh, yeah, that guy has to be up. I think most people would be like, he's kind of like right at that line. Maybe I'm off on that.
No,
we're so emotionally
we're definitely emotionally invested in these young guys because that's the only hope we have. That's the facts. So, of course, we're going to treat this crop of prospects differently. It reminds me of a high school program that has not been good in ages, and they're dying for a team to win, and they see that they have a group of kids that have won the 6th grade championship, they've won the 7th grade championship, they've won the 8th grade championship, and they're all freshmen, and they're playing pretty well at JV, and the varsity team gets their tails kicked in every single game. Everyone in the stands is eventually going to look around and say, let's get these kids up here. That's what this is about. So as far as the idea of not messing things up, I'm not going to get into the idea of it, whether it quote-unquote messes them up or not. I do hate, and I disguise, but I disgust in the nature of quote-unquote being able to just flip-flop your way around a diamond all the time and just suspect that you're going to be able to find some consistency. That's not what that's not, in my opinion, what good teams do. At least in all of the years that I watched Major League Baseball and all of the teams that I've been a part of that were relatively good, you knew who you had, you were running them out there almost every single day, and you felt pretty damn good about it, no matter who was pitching. So, and maybe that's just old school thinking, and maybe that's naive thinking. I'm getting sick and tired of the lineups being completely different every single day. That's all. So now I look down in the minor leagues and I'm like, okay, is Matt McLain not playing second base anymore? Is Elly De La Cruz moving over to third base? Who's the shortstop of the future? It's not like these guys are playing it's not like Elly De La Cruz has had a month to play shortstop and he's switching over to third just to kind of get his feet wet a little bit. Who's the best shortstop out of all of them? Do we know?
Defensively? I think it's Jose. Well, I mean, Edwin Arroyo, I think. Although I don't know. When I saw him a couple weeks ago, I was not impressed. But for everything I've heard, he's by far the best defensive shortstop. Then I would say if you're going down the list, it's probably Jose Barrero, then Elly De La Cruz and Matt McLain. Although I've heard Matt McLain, though, is much better than I think a lot of people give him credit for. I think all four of those guys could be above average defensive shortstops. I think Edwin Arroyo is probably a bona fide above average defensive shortstop. I think Jose Barrero, you run him out there every day for 3 years, put the offense aside. I think defensively he'd be an above average shortstop. I think Elly De La Cruz probably would be a above average defensive shortstop. And I think Matt McLain probably would be an above average defensive shortstop. But the other two, you don't know. I don't think they're necessarily like 100% locked in at that.
Okay.
One point I do want to make. I get what you're saying about the lineup. I would encourage you to look at Tampa Bay and what they do with their lineups. Their lineups are completely different every single day. It's wild.
I that's fine, and I will look at that. But Nick, that might be because they have a ton of major league players.
No question.
I look around at this Reds. I look around at this Reds lineup sometimes, this Reds roster, and I ask myself, in 4 years, when I look at this Reds roster and this lineup, especially the lineup today, is it not going to be laugh out loud funny? Is it not going to be like that was a lineup that played a Major League Baseball game together at the same time, all on the same field at the same time? And I promise you, today's lineup is going to be laugh out loud funny. It's going to be like back in like 4 or 5 years ago, when you look at the Reds rotation, or maybe not 4 or 5, but years past, and I'll have to go find the exact year. Years past, when like you had Aaron Harang, and then you had a bunch of nobodies after him, in every opening day, it was like, oh, this rotation might do it. It's like, quit fooling yourselves. Like, we might have 2 or 3 big league players on this team, but we rotate guys like shit. We gotta get whoever a couple at bats, and he needs a break. I'd be interested to see. To be fair to you, I'm gonna go and look at Tampa Bay, look at their career statistics, or look at their overall, careers, and say, okay, I could see why you would flip flop these guys because they're both pretty damn good players.
Okay, so I think to your first point, yeah, there's probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 guys in this Reds lineup today that probably aren't going to be in the big leagues in a couple years. So that's fair. The Reds need more talent. They need to have their bench has to be better. You shouldn't be, at some point we don't need Matt Reynolds being an option. And we probably don't need maybe even Stuart Fairchild being an option. But at the same time, so we need to have more talent overall, and I think we're going to get there because we have a lot of it coming through. But at the same time, the Rays, they have a much more talented team. There's no question about that. But they have a lot of guys that get into their lineup every day that are guys they pick up off the scrap heap as well, and they kind of mix and match with those, like we see in the bullpen with a lot of guys like Derek Law and Buck Farmer that the Reds have picked up. They mix and match that with other good talent. And I don't think that's a bad strategy. I think that's a good strategy for a team like the Reds that's going to have a limited budget, that you're maximizing every single roster spot and every single platoon situation, because that's how you can take a team where, maybe you have 3 or 4 stars, while the Cardinals might have 6 or 7 stars, but you can even the playing field because you 1 through 13 have the best matchup in at the best time in every single situation. But I think there's a little bit of both to that.
All right. Well, I'm also just pissed off from today because I felt like this was a good opportunity for this team to win a baseball game, get one step closer to 500, continue their momentum, and we ran out, call it whatever you want, but we ran out one of the worst lineups I've seen in a long time. An absolutely atrocious lineup. A lineup so damn bad that you're going to look back and say Kevin Newman was hitting leadoff and Stuart Fairchild was hitting third.
Trace, the funny thing is, though, this lineup today I'm looking at it here.
I know. Those guys produced.
Everyone had a hit except Tyler Stevenson went over 5.
Yeah.
Baseball's such a stupid game.
It is. And I get that I'm making an argument and Kevin Newman got 2 hits. It's more or less it's more or less, I guess, if anything, I'll hang the hat on just the mindset. And maybe that's a dumb thing to do, like, but it's just the mindset for me. It's like if I was a player today and I woke up on the Reds team, or if I was in the bullpen, whatever, and I seen the lineup that we were putting out, I'd be like, what in the hell is going on today? And that's a fact. But that's
Hold on, Bronco. I got a stat on Mally coming up still.
All right.
You better believe it.
I will let you get into tomorrow's starters and then also give us that little nugget you said you had.
All right, so tomorrow, I believe it's Blake Snell. I haven't double-checked. They had not confirmed it, but it was his spot in the rotation is tomorrow. So it was Luke Weaver confirmed, Blake Snell not confirmed. Snell was the Padres' opening day starting pitcher this season, but he has struggled, walking over 7 batters per 9 innings, allowed a home run in each of his last 4 starts. So you hope that you're getting him at the right time. Padres, they're 15-14. They came back and won today. They were in Mexico, playing in a very weird series where the ball was flying out. So who knows how that'll translate coming back to Petco to take on the Reds. This is really weird, Trace. I had to double check this several times. Blake Snell has never faced the Reds in his 8-year career. So that seems, I didn't believe that. But you ready for this, Bronco? Luke Malley is 3 for 7 in his career against Blake Snell. He's really the only one that's faced him more than once. And then Luke Weaver for the Reds, career 3.97 ERA against the Padres in 13 appearances, but not good numbers here. Padres active hitters combined 20 for 61 with an OPS over 1,000 against Weaver. We liked what we saw Weaver the last 2 starts at times. Hopefully he can put it all together. Not sure this is the night. Hopefully, though, the Padres, there's a lot of guys struggling, like Juan Soto is struggling right now. I don't know. Hopefully you're getting at the good time. But my bet Fred stat of the day, Trace, if you're looking for some betting for this series, the Padres are 35-59 against the run line at home over the last 2 seasons. That is the lowest in baseball. So you're going to see a lot of Reds plus 1.5, maybe on the Luis Cessa day, maybe even a plus 2.5. So, hey, maybe the Reds can keep that trend going. Bet Reds run line. Bet Reds plus 1.5, which I assume would be what it'll be tomorrow.
That's great. I got your stat of the day. Ready for it?
I don't know.
Jason Vossler so far in Louisville. I'm happy to report to the chat. I know we are big fans of the big Voss man. He's hitting 0 currently. Got 6 at-bats. Haven't got a hit. We'll see how long we can continue that. It takes an elite type of player to continue to do those types of numbers. Not to be outdone, though. Not to be outdone by Will Benson, he right now is continuing to play really well. And I will tell you, Will Benson did, in fact, get did he get on base? No. He went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, 4 left on base. So
it's on the bottom bar. I didn't feel like adding that to my discussion today. I felt like the folks
down bad
take so much.
Down bad. Chat.
Hey, Trace, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have smiles on our face. I'll have a smile on my face. Trace, game time decision. Late night the next 2 nights, Trace.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. We'll be ready to go. I just want to say to everybody, thank you for tuning in. As always, please do us a favor. Go leave us a review. Nick, throw the promos up. Go leave us a review on Chatterbox Reds if you haven't already. We appreciate you always tuning in. We got, obviously, a bunch of OGs that come in here. Fact of the matter is, this team isn't very good. I try to remind myself of that, but it's so damn hard. We had every opportunity in the world to continue our momentum. We let it get away, and there's a lot of things that we can blame for it. But more importantly, as always, we have another game tomorrow, and we'll be back better than ever. And most importantly, no matter how hard it is at times, go Reds.